With my beloved husband by my side, we joyously welcomed our precious child into the world. However, my mother-in-law, whom I'll simply call that, had the audacity to declare that our child wasn't adorable. Can you imagine anyone saying such a thing about their own grandchild? To compound matters, she treated me like an unwelcome intruder. Well, I wasn't about to play the victim. This is the story of a narcissistic mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law who refuses to back down. I'm Viola. I married Elwood when I was 28, and our much-awaited son, Ricky, arrived just a year ago. When Ricky was 6 months old, I returned to work and enrolled him in daycare while I focused on my career. Some might criticize leaving such a young baby in daycare, but there were financial realities to consider. Elwood's job was struggling, and his income had dwindled since we married. In fact, I now earn twice as much as he does. With a newborn, expenses were only mounting. So, I made the decision to return to work early. Fortunately, I've always enjoyed my job, so going back wasn't a hardship for me. However, there was one person who strongly opposed my decision: my husband's mother, my mother-in-law. She had moved in with us 3 months earlier. She didn't seem to approve of me, frequently criticizing not only my parenting but also my daily routines. How could you leave such a young child in daycare? You're not fit to be a mother. Traditionally, women stay home to care for the household. What century do you think we're in? She stubbornly clung to these outdated beliefs. Every evening when I returned from work with Ricky, she would start in on me. You're working late again. Don't you feel guilty leaving Ricky? I spend all day with Ricky on my days off. He's doing well at daycare, so it's fine. I'd defend myself, but whenever I tried to reason with her, she'd scowl angrily. You're just taking the daycare worker's word for it. If you keep this up, the child won't turn out right. My mother-in-law, who never lifted a finger to care for Ricky, constantly lectured me about parenting from her self-appointed pedestal. Adding insult to injury, she didn't hesitate to criticize my character. I regret living with a daughter-in-law like you who only cares about work. Why did my son Elwood marry someone like you? I'm stressed out every day. It's driving me crazy. This time, I had finally reached my limit. If it's that unbearable, should we reconsider living together? You know why we agreed to this arrangement, don't you? There was a backstory to why my mother-in-law moved in with us. Originally, she lived in her husband's home until he had a serious traffic accident that left him paralyzed from the waist down. Later, it was discovered he also had dementia, making it impossible for her to care for him alone. Reluctantly, she moved him to a care facility. She then insisted we move in with her, but both my husband and I had jobs. Given our daily commutes, relocating from our current home was simply not feasible. Then one day, without warning, my mother-in-law moved her belongings into our house and made herself at home. It was clear that this living arrangement was not something we had agreed upon. She had taken it upon herself to impose it upon us. It was an unwelcome intrusion. Look, I understand that things are difficult for you because of Dad, I said calmly, trying to keep my frustration in check. That's why we agreed to this arrangement. But remember, we also agreed not to interfere in each other's lives, right? Did we? I don't recall agreeing to anything like that, my mother-in-law retorted, her tone dismissive, seemingly confident that she wouldn't be challenged. Her dismissive attitude grated on my nerves. I had had enough. I agreed to this living situation on the condition that we respect each other's boundaries. This is not what we discussed. Oh, stop being so uptight. Why can't you be more like Sil? She's such a sweet, obedient girl, she remarked, aiming a passive-aggressive jab at me. Sil is my sister-in-law, married to my brother-in-law. She's known more for her cunning nature than any outright character flaws. Upon marrying my brother-in-law, she promptly became a full-time housewife and won my mother-in-law's favor. Without her consent, mother-in-law would often invite her over and they would gossip about me behind my back. Did you hear? Viola is still working, mother-in-law would remark. Oh my, really? Ricky is so young. It's hard to believe she manages that, Sil would chime in. You're so clever, unlike Viola who hasn't chosen to be a full-time housewife, mother-in-law would reply, emphasizing the contrast between us. I won't have to worry when you have a child, I assured my mother-in-law respectfully. I'll do my best. Their petty arguments continued incessantly. To my dismay, they would purposely talk in loud voices within earshot. I grew to resent them deeply. Over time, Cecil began to criticize me freely in an effort to win my mother-in-law's favor. You know, she would say, Doesn't my brother-in-law make about the same salary as my husband? Yet you're still working. Could it be that you're not good with money? A few years ago, my husband did earn as much as my brother-in-law, but his earnings have since fallen below that level. I had mentioned to them about my husband's company's declining financial situation. Out of pride, it has now become a regular occurrence that whenever Cecil criticizes me, my mother-in-law eagerly joins in. Exactly, she would exclaim. It's unbelievable how she blames others for her financial mismanagement and childcare responsibilities. Sil, promise me you'll never become a wife like her, right? Of course not. I have so much respect for you, ma'am, Cecil would respond. Oh, Cecil, you're such a dear, my mother-in-law would say with evident approval. Their superficial exchange of compliments makes me cringe. I wish they would take it elsewhere. It only adds to my stress. Feeling at my wits' end living with my mother-in-law, I decided to talk to my husband about it. It's about your mother. She keeps inviting Cecil over every day to criticize me. Huh, Mom does that. I usually get home after you, so I had no idea about this, my husband replied, looking puzzled. Yes, she does. She promised not to interfere, but she's constantly complaining about me continuing to work. Cecil joins in, and they both gang up on me. I can't take it anymore. My husband paused for a moment before saying something unexpected. But Cecil seems to get along well with Mom, right? Maybe you should try to find a middle ground with Mom too. Viola, were you even listening to me? She's dismissing everything I am. How can I connect with someone like that? I pressed my husband, frustration evident. He scratched his head in irritation. Don't get so worked up. Just try to act more like Sil for now. I'm sure Mom will warm up to you, he suggested. What does that even mean? You want me to flatter her like Cecil does? I've had enough. I was foolish to ask for your help. I felt utterly isolated. Frustration bubbled up inside me before giving way to anger. The snide remarks from my mother-in-law and sister-in-law continued unabated. The next day, as I started preparing dinner after returning home, I heard, "Are you planning another half-hearted dinner today? I'm tired of your lazy cooking." That's because she insists on working, you know. If it were up to me or my mother-in-law, we would never serve our husbands such low-quality meals. Right, for the record, my mother-in-law's cooking is nothing to brag about. It's overly seasoned and not particularly delicious. As for my sister-in-law, her domestic skills are quite apparent, considering how often she practically lives at our place. Silently seething, I continued with my dinner preparations. When my husband returned home, both my mother-in-law and Cecil suddenly changed their demeanor and stopped criticizing me. This made my husband doubt my words. Just when everything seemed to settle into a tense routine, an unexpected incident shook things up. I received a call from the daycare center during my work shift. I quickly contacted my husband and rushed home. There, I found my mother-in-law and my tearful son waiting for me. What do you think you're doing, mother-in-law? How could you take Ricky from the daycare without asking me? I exclaimed in frustration. My mother-in-law sighed as though weary of the conflict and gave me a condescending look. What's all the commotion about? I did it for my grandson. Besides, why waste money on a childcare center? Raising a child is a mother's responsibility, isn't it? But that's just your viewpoint, isn't it? We have our reasons for sending Ricky to daycare. Taking him without permission is unacceptable. It's practically kidnapping. Kidnapping? Seriously? Regardless of whether he's my grandson, you ignored the teacher's warnings and took him. That's kidnapping, plain and simple? I made my point, but she simply shrugged it off. Then she said something shocking. Oh, what nonsense. Neither you nor your son are cute. If you have a problem, just leave. She dismissed her own grandson as not cute. In that instant, alarm bells rang loudly in my mind. To hear her insult her own grandson like that, we couldn't stay with her any longer. I vowed to protect my precious son at all costs. Just then, my husband arrived home. I wasted no time in telling him, "Elwood, it was your mother who took Ricky from daycare. I've had enough. I can't live with her anymore." Suddenly, my mother-in-law played the victim, feigning tears. "Elwood, can you believe what Viola is saying? She's accusing me of kidnapping. I just wanted to pick up sweet little Ricky, that's all. Is it so wrong to want to see him?" Her words sparked my anger. "Stop pretending. You just insulted my son and told me to leave. This is our home, not yours. Are you trying to play the doting mother in front of my husband? Elwood, please help me. Viola is always attacking me. my mother-in-law pleaded, turning to my husband. Watching her dramatic act, I couldn't help but find the situation absurd. If my husband chose to side with her over this poorly staged performance, I knew then it would be just my son and me moving forward together. The first to break the tense silence was my husband. "First, I need to talk with Viola. Mom, please go back to your room," he said firmly. This unexpected stand from my husband, who usually sided with his mother, widened her eyes in surprise. "What are you saying? You don't need to listen to Viola, do you? Can't you see how upset I am? Ricky's involved in this too. That's why I want to have a proper conversation with Viola as his parent," my mother-in-law protested, visibly dissatisfied but reluctant to upset my husband. Later, my husband and I spent hours discussing the incident and all the issues leading up to it, finally reaching a resolution. A few days later, we decided to share the outcome of our discussion with her. "Mom, sorry for the wait. We've reached a decision," my husband said to my mother-in-law with a smile. Judging by her expression, she seemed convinced her son was on her side. She started talking excitedly. "So, you're finally breaking free from Viola, huh?" Without acknowledging what I had just said, my mother-in-law became elated. She immediately called my brother-in-law and his wife, as usual, to criticize me. "What a relief. Today we finally say goodbye to Viola, right?" I replied with a smile. "Absolutely." "Well then, hurry up and leave and take that not-so-cute kid who looks just like you with you. This house will be for me, Elwood, Derek, and Tall from now on. Let's go, Viola," my husband finally spoke up after remaining silent. "Excuse me. Let's go, Elwood." "What? What?" My mother-in-law seemed bewildered, repeating "what" several times. My husband and I began packing our things, preparing to leave with our son. That's when my mother-in-law intervened. "Wait, Elwood, what's happening? We're supposed to live together in this house, right?" "What are you talking about?" My husband turned to her with a stern look. "I'm leaving with Viola. I can't tolerate your behavior any longer." My mother-in-law trembled, then collapsed. "Why? Why would you take her side? I heard everything from the daycare center teacher. How you took Ricky without permission, yelled at the staff, and spoke ill of Viola. Everything. I never expected you to stoop so low, Mom," my husband said sternly. "You've caused enough damage by surrounding yourself with people who only echo your views. Enjoy your life with them." He took my hand and said, "Let's go," guiding me out of the house. Throughout our departure, my mother-in-law called up to him, crying. On our way to our new home, my husband apologized. "I'm sorry. I should have realized sooner. I hope you can forgive me." "What are you talking about? Your actions now mean everything to me," I replied with a smile. Knowing he believed and supported me over his mother was deeply reassuring. Since then, we have cut ties with my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law's family, and we have found peace in our daily lives once again. After we terminated our lease on the house, my mother-in-law, having nowhere else to go, apparently moved in with my brother-in-law and his wife. With her presence adding financial strain, my brother-in-law's income became insufficient. Consequently, Cecil had to find a job, leaving my mother-in-law alone at home. There was no one left for her to gossip with or about. Even her once close relationship with Cecil turned sour, leading to constant arguments. "I have to work because of you, mother-in-law." "Oh, spare me. What, so now it's my fault? Leave, you old hack." Upon hearing Cecil's true feelings, her husband seemed to have lost his affection for her. I heard they're going through a divorce. Once free to act charming in front of my husband, Cecil's newfound workload and irritability have revealed her true nature. No matter how tough things get for them, I have no desire to reconnect with my mother-in-law. From now on, my husband, my son, and I will focus on building a happy home together.